thought I could do it because I never thought I could get that kind of physique that you would see in a popular magazine. Big, huge muscles, a freakish look. I lifted weights. I was always working out, mainly for sports. And when I look back at pictures of myself, it's amazing how I didn't realize that I already had developed myself pretty decently, and I didn't see it. Like, for instance, when I was at University of New Orleans, we had a guy who was a worker with me, but he was in the same major with me. We were in classes together. He was also working in the fitness center with me, and he saw a picture. I think I showed him a picture where I was with a friend, and he took a picture of my back, and he's like impressed because I had good definition. This is when I was like 21 before I even competed. I was 25 the first show. And he's like, "You got a Christmas tree." And what that is it's the way the muscle in the lower back kind of forms like these little digits or little fibers that kind of, it's like in the lower back area, which I have it pretty pronounced. I had that before even competing. I already had it just from basic weight training, but using good form, challenging myself. I was never big enough. That's what I always thought. And then in 2005, there was a guy in the gym who was showing people, I think, pictures of him competing. And I thought to myself, wow, this is interesting. And he said it was a natural show. I never wanted to go down that road of having to take drugs or steroids. It never even crossed my mind because I completely was turned off by it. I think mainly because I just didn't like the idea of putting something in my body that for the short term may obviously look amazing, but for the long term it's just, I mean, bodybuilders that take that road, that's their personal choice, but let's be honest, they're the brunt of a lot of stereotypes. I asked him about it, he's like, sure man, you could do it. He just told me I could do it, and that I just needed to diet down 3 months. I didn't really like that idea, I just wanted to just figure out how to do it. And so that was when I did my first show, and I made that comparison about when I was playing football and how it was going to be not as difficult as that. And that was when I did my first show. I just went online, did some research, and I kind of felt confident about it because I was a personal trainer at the time and I was getting my graduate degree in exercise physiology, so I kind of had a good base on the exercise sciences of the body and how to train it. The nutrition was something that was interesting along the way. I kind of learned along the way, and but I always had a passion for just exercise and whatnot. And for me, it was like, I think it was just a logical step to do something that embodied that. You know, I felt for me. I think it's something that you could see. You could see the results of training. Granted, at a higher level of obviously intensity, but I'd say that's what got me into it. Was I don't know why I didn't know about natural bodybuilding. Actually, it hasn't been around that long. Natural physique and bodybuilding competitions have only been around since the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Before that, there was no natural competitions. It's been amazing for me. I really enjoy competing. I really do. The reason why is because it gives me a goal. There's a show on this day, and training to get to being my best for that year. And it's as simple as that, but the journey is it's great. It teaches you discipline, and not only discipline, but you know, I just enjoy it. There's a lot of opportunities that come from it as well. I do triathlons and bodybuilding competitions, and they do seem counterintuitive because one of them is swimming, biking, and running, which doesn't have to do with building muscle. It has to do with the endurance of muscle, right? And then bodybuilding has to do with mainly building up the muscle. Although it's not just building up the muscle, it's also a lot of other things like, you know, obviously definition. So I do both of them. And the main reason is because I got into the triathlon training, and like I said, I made that decision that I wasn't going to try and get really huge, because when I did, I just didn't like it. My main thing is I wanted to compete in bodybuilding to do my best and forget the rest. In other words, be the best that I can be and accept myself the way I want to do it and do it in my own way. The way I've done it is I like to do triathlon training and bodybuilding training. You'd be surprised, some triathletes actually can look like bodybuilders, but everyone has different kinds of genetic makeup, particularly in the muscle types. So I mainly do the sprint triathlon. So they're not really long, but they're very intense. There's been a lot of research that actually supports the concept of if the exercise is intense, like for instance, if you're going intense on a swim and a bike and a run, a lot of times I'll actually get pumped by doing that because the intensity will actually naturally stimulate your body's testosterone levels. Now, weight training does it too, but I'm telling you, if you get on a bike and you just book it and you're going against a heavy resistance and you're pumped up and you're competitive and you're trying to pass the guy in front of you, you're trying to do your best, you're redlining, as they say. I mean, you're going to build yourself up, especially if you're supporting yourself with nutrition. If you're eating, you're eating, normally eating, okay, supporting your training. They both can be done. And again, let's not forget that I'm not trying to build extreme muscle, although I do find that impressive when some do. But for me, that route didn't work. So I decided to build enough muscle, but I love the conditioning side of it. Not just the way we look, but the way the heart functions, controlling blood pressure, improving your cholesterol, and just in general being fit. And so that's why I do both of them, because they actually support each other. Because if you remember, if you're not the biggest guy, you can be the very defined guy. And you will stand out. You may not win. You may not win first place. It just depends. I may not win, but I may, whatever. But you will stand out. And triathlon training helps with conditioning a lot. Call it Triad Bodybuilding. Do both of them and they support each other. Or just the thought of getting up on stage and really being in your most revealing and for many would find vulnerable state. How do you get past that barrier as far as actually doing it? I think everyone's different as far as what works for them, but for me, I can remember my first show in 2005. My mindset was, and I don't know why this was just something that popped in my head, but when I played football in high school and I played in college, I can recall how difficult it was to play those sports. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm just walking up on stage in posing shorts, just holding your muscles. That's not hard compared to going out there and trying to evade tacklers and getting roughed up and just blindsided, and getting hit, all the sprints we had to do, all the training. And I just thought to myself, I mean, this is, for me, I didn't find it to be that difficult. I compared it to something that was a lot more difficult, at least in my mind, in my eyes. And so I just got up there and it just felt natural to me. I think I was always, it's funny because a lot of things that people would normally feel, I guess, nervous or anxious about, well, I should say in that case, that would be something if I'm not too nervous or anxious about it, just because I guess part of it is I kind of very familiar with it and prepare myself for it. Things that most people don't find nerve-wracking or make them anxious, those things make me anxious sometimes. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. That's just how, I guess it's just how I operate. I'm confident because I've done it so many times and I know how to do it. I think that's why I feel comfortable doing it. And also when you know you're ready, you feel good about it, for me at least. So when I know I'm in really good shape, and the way you know this is you look at competitors from past shows. You compare yourself and say, am I looking close to that? Competitors who have done well and whatnot. It all depends on really the person, but I still get nervous, absolutely. But it's like a good nervousness. It's means I'm ready. It means I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm excited about going out there and showing people what I got. Showing people what you can accomplish through health and fitness and inspiring people. Another reason why, for me, it's not anxiety-provoking when I'm on stage is, believe it or not, when you're flexing and posing, it's a form of exercise. It's actually, and it's a form of a contraction relaxation. So when you're exercising, a lot of times it reduces that nervousness right away. It relieves tension. So when we're up there tensing, it's almost like we're absorbing that anxiety, or at least for me, I'm absorbing it and just kind of exposing of it through the intense effort of posing. It's like a workout. It's an anxiety that the edge just gets taken off. That's another example of why I think it kind of cuts that nervousness down when I'm on stage competing, is that I'm basically going to be tensing up. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it's actually a practice that's used in stress management. Is if you take a deep breath in and let's say we want to relax from hands to shoulders, right? So you would clench your fists and hold your breath. You would, and then contract, and then exhale and relax your hands. And then maybe just wiggle your fingers. And then you can move on to your arm. You can tense the arm. And then feel the tension and then let it just melt away, relax. It's the comparison between tension and then when you let the tension go. It allows you to finally relax because it's the extreme difference between you flexing and then when you just let it go and relax. Yeah. So in a sense, the posing is like that. We are tensed, but when we hold a pose, we tense and then we don't fully relax, but we do somewhat relax when we come out of it. That's kind of a cool little thing. It's an inside understanding that from just the naked eye looking at it on stage, it just looks like part of my expression, but meatheads flexing. And look, sometimes that is actually the case, a lot of times. But no, it's actually a science. There are a lot of people who do have a good understanding of it. Amazing, not just people who compete, but people who have amazing, it's amazing what they do, how they can actually compete, and they have so many other responsibilities in their life. It's amazing. It's inspirational and amazing. Well, my writing was something interesting because I first wrote for bodybuilding.com, but it was something to where it was mainly bodybuilding articles, and it was while I was training and I was kind of applying things that I was doing in the articles and also my knowledge base. That was for store credit. So I would write an article, get a certain amount of credits you can purchase online stuff for their site. And then, I dabbled and I tried to inquire other magazines and things like that, and I never really got returned. And then back just this past year, I was just in a Barnes & Noble. I was just looking through magazines and I saw this magazine, On Fitness magazine. And I just immediately looked through it and I was like, wow, that's really good stuff. Do they have a phone number, email address? I got the contact information. I emailed them, asked them if I could, about inquiring about writing for the magazine. They got back to me and they had a set of guidelines, and I immediately thought to myself, that's one foot in the door. That's like way closer than I've been with any other, and I've never got a call back from any other magazine. This one, not only do they reply, but they reply with some writing guidelines. I was like, well, that's a good sign, but I'm not, it doesn't mean I'm like in with them yet. So I reply, and then I end up getting my first assignment where I write, and they gave me an assignment on a department of the magazine, Weight Measures. It's these little snippets where you write about different little catchy topics on health and fitness. And so I've been writing ever since then. It was November 2012. It's a bi-monthly magazine, and they get published nationally in the United States. So it's going to be located at any newsstand they publish, and the one main one that really jumped out to me was Barnes & Noble. That was one thing. I wanted to try and write for a magazine that got published in Barnes & Noble. And you're not going to believe this. When I competed in Miami this year, one of the sponsors was at a table, and guess what? The magazine was on the table, and it was the one that had one of my articles in there. When I was writing those little weight and measure departments, my name was not under the little snippets. My name was in the front of the magazine in small font. I was like, when am I going to get an article? I finally got one this year. And now my name is I have a byline under each article that I write, and I've been writing for them ever since, and it's been amazing. The magazine, the owner he lives in Hawaii. That's where the publisher is. It's pretty amazing. It's been great. The exposure of that is phenomenal. I haven't really got much contact from people, but that doesn't mean people haven't read my work. I did get a couple of connections on LinkedIn. One of the people who connected with me was actually one of the authors for another article in the magazine. One of the other writers was reading my work and liked it and friended me on LinkedIn. That was an amazing compliment for them to do that. But it's been a great magazine. I really enjoy it, and I learned from the other writers. Actually, all the writers. It's really for personal trainers, but it's also for anyone who wants cutting edge, the latest on workouts and eating, those kinds of things. I've always had a passion for writing. A lot of times when I talk, you can make mistakes, and for me at least, I'm not quick on my feet. Okay, so I screw up when I talk sometimes. On the right, if I make a mistake, I don't have to click that send button. I can literally edit it right there. So I'm able to actually convey myself the way I want to be conveyed and not misunderstood or miscommunicated. That's the beauty of writing, is that you can, you get a second, third, and fourth chance to make corrections and revisions. So it's been really good, and I get paid too. So that was different than the website, the bodybuilding.com. I got store credits. With them, I get a check. I get a check in the mail. So it's been good for me. It's been a good supplementary income. Absolutely, and the opportunity to write for a nationally published magazine that is published in every state. Someone may pick up my magazine in California, or the magazine, and then read an article I wrote. I mean, they don't have to contact me, but I mean, I'd be surprised at how people will read something and they don't contact the person, but it made a difference for them. So I'm sure that's probably happened. So it makes me feel good getting my voice out there in writing. It's great.